The dragon hatchling cowered behind the crystalline rocks of Draken Prime, his silver scales dulled by despair. Ken was small, painfully small for a dragon of the Imperial bloodline. While his clutchmates had emerged from their shells with scales gleaming like molten gold and wings that could already carry them across the nursery caverns, Ken had hatched last, smallest, and weakest. Pathetic runt, Zarek, the largest of his brothers, had sneered that morning, his tail whipping across Ken's snout. "You shame our lineage." The Council of Elders had been even crueler. "Perhaps the humans were right to call us primitive," Elder Thross had rumbled, his ancient eyes dismissing Ken with a glance. "If this is what our bloodline produces now." Ken's wings trembled as he replayed those words. The dragons of Draken Prime prided themselves on being the galaxy's apex predators, a species that had conquered 17 star systems through sheer force and fire. They viewed other species, especially humans, as weak, emotional creatures unworthy of respect. And now Ken embodied everything his kind despised: vulnerability, smallness, weakness. He had stopped eating 3 cycles ago. What was the point? He would never be strong enough to earn his place in the flights, never mighty enough to carry the pride of his ancestors. The other hatchlings had made that abundantly clear, leaving him bruised and alone after each training session. Today, Ken had made his decision. He would fly to the edge, the great chasm at the western border of the Imperial Rookery, and let himself fall. At least then he would stop being a burden, a joke, a mistake. As the twin suns set over the jagged mountains, Ken spread his wings and caught the thermal currents, his small body struggling against the wind. He didn't notice the human survey ship that had landed in the valley below, its crew conducting routine geological surveys on this restricted dragon world. Mia Chen wasn't supposed to be outside the ship's perimeter. The 16-year-old xenobiologist intern had been explicitly told to stay within the safety barriers, while the senior scientists collected their samples. But Mia had never been good at following rules when curiosity called. She'd been tracking an unusual energy signature on her scanner, something organic but distinctly different from the local fauna they'd cataloged. The readings led her to a cliff overlooking a massive chasm, where the wind howled like a living thing. That's when she saw him, a tiny dragon, no larger than a house cat, perched on the precipice. His scales should have gleamed in the dying light, but they looked dull, almost gray. His wings hung at his sides, trembling not with strength but with exhaustion or fear. Mia couldn't tell which. But it was his eyes that stopped her breath. Deep, intelligent eyes filled with such profound sadness that Mia felt her heart crack. She'd read about dragon culture during the flight to Draken Prime. The dragons were notoriously isolationist, refusing most diplomatic contact with humans. They viewed emotion as weakness and had built their entire civilization on strength, dominance, and power. The Galactic Council had classified them as reluctantly cooperative. They wouldn't attack human vessels, but they certainly didn't welcome human presence. Mia watched as the small dragon inched closer to the edge. Understanding hit her like a physical blow. "Oh no," she whispered. "No, no, no." She moved without thinking, scrambling over the rocks, her boots slipping on loose gravel. "Hey, wait!" Ken heard the voice, that strange, soft human voice, and froze. His head whipped around and he saw her, a human female, small even by their diminutive standards, with dark hair whipping around her face and eyes that held no mockery. No disgust, only concern. "Please don't," Mia called out, her voice cracking. She was crying, Ken realized with confusion. Why would a human cry for a dragon? "Whatever you're thinking, please don't do it." "Leave me," Ken rasped in Standard Galactic, his voice weak from disuse. "This doesn't concern your kind." "Like hell it doesn't," Mia said, continuing to climb toward him. "I'm not going to watch anyone, dragon, human, or otherwise, throw themselves off a cliff. Not today. Not ever." Ken's tail lashed in frustration. "You don't understand. I am worthless. A disgrace to my bloodline. My own clutch wishes I had never hatched. I am too weak, too small, too young to make this decision," Mia interrupted, finally reaching the ledge. She stood several feet away, sensing that coming closer might spook him. "You're just a baby. I am a dragon of the Imperial." "You're a child," Mia said firmly, then softened her voice. "And someone hurt you. Someone made you believe you're not worth living. But they're wrong." Ken laughed bitterly, and small wisps of smoke curled from his nostrils. "How would you know? Humans are the weakest species in the galaxy. Your bodies break easily, you have no natural weapons, no fire, no flight. You survive through. He struggled for the word dragons used most contemptuously. Cooperation? Mia offered. Compassion, love? Weakness, Ken spat, but his voice lacked conviction. Mia sat down on the cold stone, making herself smaller, less threatening. You know what I think? I think your people have mistaken cruelty for strength. Real strength isn't about being the biggest or breathing the hottest fire. Real strength is getting back up after you've been knocked down. It's choosing to live even when everything feels hopeless. She reached into her jacket and pulled out her field rations, a simple protein bar. Breaking it in half, she extended one piece toward Ken. I know what it's like, she continued quietly, to feel like you don't fit, to be bullied for being different. I was the smallest kid in my class for years. Got picked last for every team, got shoved in hallways, got told I was too weak, too small, too weird because I liked studying alien bugs instead of sports. Ken found himself listening, his body unconsciously turning toward her voice. But you know what saved me? Mia asked. One person. One friend who sat with me at lunch when everyone else excluded me. Who told me that being different wasn't being lesser. That my passion for science wasn't weird, it was wonderful. One person who held out her hand when I felt completely alone. She extended her hand fully now, palm up, the protein bar resting on it. A peace offering. A bridge. I can't promise everything will get better immediately, Mia said, her dark eyes meeting his. I can't fix your family or make your clutchmates kind. But I can promise you this, you are not alone. Not anymore, and you are worth so much more than they told you. Ken stared at her hand. It was such a small thing, pale, scaleless, clawless. By all dragon measures, utterly insignificant. Yet something about it called to him, radiating a warmth that had nothing to do with fire. His whole body shook. I'm so tired, he whispered. And finally the tears came, steam hissing as they hit his heated scales. I just wanted them to love me. I know, Mia breathed. I know, sweetheart, come here. Come on. Ken's wings drooped. Every lesson he'd ever learned screamed that accepting help from a human was shameful, that showing emotion was disgraceful. But those lessons had brought him to this cliff, ready to end everything. Maybe weakness wasn't what they said it was. Maybe strength looked different than he'd been taught. Slowly, shakily, Ken crawled forward. Mia remained perfectly still, tears streaming down her own cheeks until the baby dragon finally closed the distance and collapsed into her arms. She was so warm. Not with fire, but with something better, something his kind had forgotten. Compassion, care, love without condition or requirement. I've got you, Mia murmured, cradling his small form against her chest. You're safe now. I've got you. For the first time since hatching, Ken felt the horrible tension in his body ease. He tucked his head under her chin and let himself be small, be young, be vulnerable. And the world didn't end. The sky didn't fall. Instead, he heard her heartbeat. Steady, reliable, alive. What's your name? Mia asked softly. Ken, he managed. I'm Mia. And I'm so glad I found you. Ken, so glad. They sat there as the stars emerged. Human and dragon, both small by their species standards, both having found exactly what they needed in each other. Ken didn't know what would come next, how he'd explain this to his family, what the elders would say, whether his clutchmates would ever accept him. But for now, wrapped in this human's inexplicable kindness, he decided that living might be worth the struggle after all. And perhaps, just perhaps, humanity's so-called weakness was actually the greatest strength of all. ND